I do not. No, not yet.
Either do I.
Jane, I like your pandas.
I'm muted. Thank you.
They're lovely.
They were very lovely. They were very active.
Is this from a zoo or from Australia?
I think it's Jane's China trip.
It's from China,
From
actually.
China.
The
That's
Panda
right.
Rescue Center where they breed them, but it was like a zoo. They were all pandas though.
Huh.
It was pretty cool.
Yes, remember when we could travel?
Yeah, I remember. I guess it's coming back though.
Yes.
Maybe we don't need to wear those masks outside.
Yeah.
Be positive.
Okay, we are now live on YouTube.
All right. I'll call the meeting to order and read the boilerplate. How's that? We're good? All right. It is 11:09 and the April 27th, 2021 Library Board of Trustees meeting is now in session. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL 30, section 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Southborough Library Board of Trustees will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information of the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website at southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so in the following manner: southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. All right. First order of business, are we waiting for Janet? Yes, we are. I think since we got a quorum, how does everybody feel about moving forward with accepting the minutes from the April 20th meeting? Do you want
I
to
think
wait?
that's a good idea.
Or do you want to just do it? Okay.
I read them over, didn't find anything to
wasn't-
I
edit.
have one suggestion that in the paragraph, library facade restoration proposed change order, that you include the dollar amount in there. Is that relevant? And if not, I withdraw my comment.
Board?
That makes sense.
I think that would be relevant.
Yes.
Marguerite,
was
I
it?
wasn't at the April 20th meeting, so I don't think I can vote to approve those.
Right. What was it? 78 something? What was it?
Oh, yeah, it was
David, do you have the number?
I can look it up here in my file.
784834.
Just,
All right.
just as a point of clarification, Kim, you don't have to be at the meeting to vote on the minutes, but if you want to abstain because you weren't there, that's okay. It's the meetings are virtual now, so you can always watch the recording, and then really approving the minutes is just making sure, like, I don't want you to feel like don't give feedback on the minutes if there's something you think is incorrect, just because you weren't at the meeting, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So
Ryan, the proposed change order was for 7848.34, correct?
Yes, that's what I
yes, that
have.
sounds correct.
All right,
It's
so we
going to
can-
be included as a supplemental document with the minutes.
Okay, so we can put that in, I guess. All right. Anybody else have any edits? I, the English professor, on the second paragraph of that, trustees and Director Donovan, I would say discussed the cost of repointing rather than conversed about. Just,
I like
I
that.
agree.
okay,
I
so
agree.
any
agree.
other, sorry to be so picky. Other than that, I think they're fabulous. And do I have a motion to accept? Hi, Janet.
Hi, I'm
I
on my
move
phone.
that we accept the amended minutes from April 20th.
Okay, and do we have a second?
Second,
Okay, and I'll do a roll call. Trustee Davis,
Aye.
Trustee Ekberg,
aye.
Trustee Landry, aye. Trustee Maney.
Aye.
Okay, Trustee Reagan,
Aye.
Trustee Yazdani.
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously. We're good. Let's move to the second item on the agenda, which I have misplaced. Hold on. Okay. Reports and discussions. Mary's not with us today, Ryan?
Sorry, I keep muting myself. I spoke with Mary on the phone today because she was here last week.
Yeah,
We agreed that I should give the update today because it's
okay,
on the facade.
all
Do you
right.
want me to go ahead and do that now?
No, we always moved her up because she had other places to be,
Okay.
but we can stay with us with the original schedule. So director's report.
Okay. So there is some duplication because of the grounds discussion. So I guess, Jane, if you're okay with talking about that. And then Amy, you were listed on because of your role in the reviewing
Story
sort
walk.
walk grant, yeah. So I know we kind of talked about having a landscape plan in the last meeting. Jane and I met with Karen and Chris Leroy from DPW. I think really the determination was that we don't need to have an independent person come in and provide sort of a landscape plan because we really did. I do this annually with Karen anyway, but it was actually really nice to have Jane there and to give her feedback. So hopefully it's something that Jane will want to do every year. That's me roping her into it. But
Yeah, that would be fine. Yes.
yeah, normally it's just a review and then to go over anything that might need additional work, like we identified the ivy cutting into the brick one year, Marguerite. That was part of an annual meeting with Karen years ago. This, we have quite a number of things we want to get done. So we did discuss the replacement pillars for the brick, the faux brick sign. The vendor has not paid the bill for those yet. So that has not, that's still going to be broken for a bit. So we did email the vendor, both Karen and I did that. We talked about the installation of the USB solar powered bench. After I wrote and sent out the report to you guys, DPW actually dug into the seating area and they have put the cement base. So I can give you an update on the schedule. That is supposed to be installed weather dependent on Friday, but we have a lot of rain that's supposed to come at the end of this week. So it is possible that the bench get installed at the beginning of next week, depending on DPW's schedule.
What about the wooden boxes?
Yeah, so the
We're
secret.
getting to that. We'll get.
Yeah. So because there's quite a number of issues. So sort of in sort of succession, I would say the next project is going to be the installation of the story walk. The idea is really what we have things stored inside that we don't have space for. So the bench was the first thing because honestly, I think that was the quickest for DPW to get done. The story walk's going to take a little longer. They're going to do that. Then there's going to be bushes that get removed, and then the garden beds are going to be relocated after that. So this is mainly when DPW has time to get this work done. So we don't have sort of a concrete schedule, but they're hoping to complete this, I would say, in the next several months.
Okay.
Can Jane and Ryan, can you clarify for me what the status is of, do we have a trustee who's sort of involved in this process or did we decide not?
Yes, that I was, as Ryan said, I was there to walk around and we placed all well, first of all, the solar bench, which he's just covered. And then we walked around and installed 17 little flags, or Chris did, where the story walk easels with their posts would be, and some were placed inside beds with the mulch around them, as many as possible so that any damage from string trimmers would be minimal and it would be easier for them to mow without all these little posts everywhere. But it started at Route 30 and then wound around the Gardner's, the Southborough Gardner's Library Garden, and then back toward the back of the parking lot. So it circled around where Kim usually does her story time, and then ended up at the parking lot in hopes that once they were finished reading the go into the library and you know, make use of the books in the library.
Hmm.
And yes, Ryan said that some of the bushes, there's some, I think they're boxwood, and they're kind of around the lid to the septic system, which is, it's just a big manhole cover thingy, but there's a rise behind it, and that's where the bushes are. And so that's where I think most recently we decided to install the garden boxes, so they'd be elevated a little, and that would allow someone to work on them standing up instead of kneeling, which could be good. We did consider putting them over farther, which is another topic. The Freddie Gillespie's asked for the CPC, to put a native species garden, and that would be way over to the right. If you're in the parking lot, it would be way down at the right. And I don't have a whole lot of detail on that, although I guess that's going forward. And one more thing, what was it? Oh, the path, the path that is currently from on Route 30, it angles from the corner, it's to the right of the benches, and then it kind of comes out at the parking lot. The decision was made, hopefully you will all agree with this, to remove the path and have grass there, because the ADA requirement for that, which is the American Disabilities Act, requires that it be smooth and a certain width, and it would have to go around the right side of, there's a tree right near the parking lot, and actually that would be within inches of our big new sidewalk. So the four of us and Kim decided that that path really was kind of redundant. So I hope that you agree that the sidewalk is sufficient for any strollers or wheelchairs or anyone with a disability, that they would be able to use that and then come into the parking lot and get into the lower door to the library. So that was another decision we talked over. And the DPW can remove, it needs repaving at the very least, but remove the different portions that are, I don't know, blacktop or cement, and just grow grass there. And from a landscaping point of view, it would look better because it would be smooth. And it would also allow us to relocate, this is a lot of stuff, relocate the sign that says Southborough Library on the granite posts, because if you look at it now, because of the changes with the sidewalk, it's practically on the sidewalk. So that would allow us to move it over and have it look more centered, and I think it would be a vast improvement to where it is now. Did I hit everything, Ryan?
Yes, so the only clarification I would say, and this is only because Freddie is so involved in so many boards and committees, that she's really working with the Native Plant Initiative that I think was spun out of the Open Space Preservation Commission. So it's, even though Freddie is involved with the Community Preservation Committee, this has nothing to do with CPC, but that's,
Sorry.
no, it is only, I just want to do that for the minutes for Val.
Okay.
Val knows it's OSPC and not CPC. I know, guys, our acronyms.
Okay.
Right?
So do we have any plan for what this native plant garden is going to be? Is this, you know, and we're using some of our money for it, right? Do we have a budget and a plan for that?
No, it's
So-
Freddie money, I think.
No, we're
No,
not using.
no budget money. That's correct.
No.
Right,
But there was money. We had decided to partner with them as part of the LSTA grant application. So
Okay.
we've allocated a little under a third of the grant funds for the native plant garden to be installed. So that, I think it was primarily to purchase the plants that were going to be involved in it. So it's good this is coming up so that you guys are aware of that, because it didn't seem like everybody was. That was part of the initial grant application. And then we've talked about an amount, because the full grant amount that was awarded to us was $10,000. So about 3,000 of that would get allocated towards the native plan piece. Because a lot of
So
it's
Jane,
programmed.
are you working with her on the design so that, I just don't want
No,
something to be put in that we don't want, and then it has to be dug up later or something.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't, I wasn't, I don't know where, I'm not aware that she has a plan. I'd be happy to meet with her and talk to her, but all these other things seem to take priority, the story walk. Well, also
Yeah, I wasn't
because
putting it on you. I just was asking if that was the plan.
I could meet with her. I don't know if she has a plan. Maybe, Ryan, you've talked to her.
I've talked to her a bit. I've requested that a budget gets submitted so that we know exactly, because that's part of what I have to do for the LSTA reporting, is I have to do a final report. And actually, Marguerite and David were nice enough to read the mid-year report that I had to submit in early April. So there's detailed budget breakdowns I have to do as far as how the LSTA money is spent. So that, I mean, I'm happy, once I get a budget, I'd be happy to share that with all of you. I mean, we could also invite Freddie to come to a meeting if you wanted to talk to her about it. But if you
I think I had one question. Water for the garden, does it need it, and does it come off of our hose system? And have we thought about that?
Freddie has talked to me a little bit about water. There will need to be watering, especially when the stuff is first put in.
Yeah.
In order to sort of sustain it initially. But a lot of the native plants they require a lot of sun, but they don't require a lot of water. But you're correct in that they will need water some of the time, and that would come out of the outdoor hose.
Does the DPW, does the DPW staff the hose duty on this, or is this befall someone on your staff?
So actually, neither. It would go to facilities now, because we used to pay our water bill, but starting next year, the facilities department is going to pay it. So I have told Freddie that she needs to coordinate with Karen and DPW on installation of the garden. And there are some pieces, I believe, that she's going to specifically need DPW's help. So she's really got to get Karen's approval before anything goes in. And then as far as the water, once the water came up, I said we would have to involve John Parent from facilities. So he will be part of the discussion as well. But yes, sort of a fringe thing that comes out of installing gardens at the library is that they'll need water. So that's something that becomes a factor.
Well, it sounds like it's all been thought out. Go ahead, Jane.
A couple other thoughts, and one was I was really happy with how well the whole meeting went with Karen and Chris. That Chris seemed to be completely invested in the story walk and having those things work out, and removing the bushes. That was his suggestion, I think, and having the garden boxes there. So that just made me. I mean, timing wise, I get it. It depends on when he's free to get going on it. But I thought it was a very good sign in their general attitude of you know, we're all together in this and we're going to get this done and it'll be great. And then one more thing, the urns in the front, the garden club ladies are planning to plant those get some plants the end of this week and hopefully have them planted by the time you start to have patrons coming in, because that's very exciting that the facade's finished and that they have access now to them. So I've been in touch with a couple of those ladies and that's imminent. So that will enhance the front of our library even more.
So go ahead.
I was just going to say, they're installing the storm windows today, and they had the masonry people here from the change order last week yesterday and today. So the hope is by the end of this week that yes, the facade will be 100% complete. So
Yeah, I
Fabulous.
think that's it, unless there are questions. I'd be happy to meet with Freddie, but so far it hasn't really been a plan. I mean, if she had, does she have a plan? I don't know.
she has a lot of ideas. I think that she's trying to codify now. So I think we could request that Freddie put some of those thoughts together so that we can review it. Maybe meeting with her, Jane, is a good first step, and I'd be happy to be
Yeah.
there if you think that would be helpful. If you
I
want to,
think that would be helpful, and we'll get it to a reasonable size, and then maybe she can present it to the board.
That's great. I'd like to just put into the record, thank you to Karen for her help, and Chris and Freddie and Jane, our Jane, and also John Parent, and also the Southborough Gardeners for all of their work on the grounds. It's
The
been a good
gardeners
effort.
have straightened up that bed quite a bit, and they're also in the process of finding a vendor for a small sign. There's a really big sign sort of stuffed in the shrub, which is not, it's not working. So I think a smaller, more permanent sign is in the works. But
Great. Wonderful. Any questions from any other board members?
so just before we move on from the grounds discussion, if it's okay, you guys are welcome to either take a vote, not take a vote, but we have the full board here right now, and I just want to make sure the elimination of the pathway, the pavement pathway from the intersection of Route 30 and Route 85 that leads towards the book drop, that taking that out at DPW's recommendation is okay with the board.
All right, I thought that it actually had been put in the first place many years ago because people were cutting across the grass, but the ADA compliance would make a pathway that looked silly because it went so close to the sidewalk. So I'm gonna move that we okay removing that that diagonal pathway.
I second it.
Okay, and Trustee Davis,
Aye.
Trustee Eckberg,
Aye.
Trustee Landry, aye. Trustee Maney,
Aye.
Trustee Reagan,
Aye.
Trustee Yazdani.
Aye.
Okay, so that passes. We voted in favor of removing that path and filling it in with grass. Thank you for bringing that up, Ryan. Okay, and thank you, Jane, for being our oversight person on this.
Oh, my pleasure.
It's good to know what's really going on, and it makes things work faster and better when you can
Well,
let.
Janet kept us on board for the construction. Now I can do, the least I can do is help with the planting.
Well, it's important too, right, isn't it? Okay, where are we in the middle of the, Ryan, pick it up. We've taken care of item number 6, I think, so we can strike that off, but we're still in the middle of reports and discussions.
Yeah, I mean, the carpeting thing was very preliminary. I don't have a lot of extra stuff to report. We may have to move, John and I have talked about maybe having a week where we have to move completely outside during the carpeting process. So we don't know, as Kim and I now know, the adhesive that's used for the glue for the carpet, even though it is technically toxic, can be a problem for the staff trying to work, and I would assume for the public trying to enter the building. So Kim Ivers and I have sort of brainstormed how we would operate the library maybe outside for a week or two. So John also needs to hire we need to get the amount approved before we can hire the vendor, before we set a schedule. So all of it is very preliminary, but John and I are hoping that once the funding gets approved at town meeting and we can start in July, that we can move on it very fast and then try to get it scheduled over the summer. So that's the general plan.
Janet, did you have feedback on that?
Just what I sent an email that that was before the selectmen's meeting, and I knew that advisory and capital planning had both, approved it, but it was going to selectmen for final vote.
Okay,
So I didn't hear back on that.
I haven't watched the selectmen meeting yet, Janet, but I believe there wasn't any concern about that being integrated into the capital budget. I think
Okay.
they approved
I
it.
think we would have heard back.
Yeah.
If they had disproved it.
Yeah. I
Anyway,
agree. I will double check though, I promise, to make sure.
so Ryan, what week do you think this will be roughly? Middle of July?
I can't answer that question yet. It might be August. It depends on if it has to go out to bid, which it might.
So it'll be during the summer at some point?
Yeah, I think given the cost, it's gonna have to go out to bid for John.
All right.
The rest of the director's report is pretty self-explanatory. If you guys want to move on quickly from that, the seed exchange, we were going to run it for 3 weeks. We had a lot of inventory left over even after the seed swap. So we're going to continue it to the Saturday before Memorial Day. We've already gotten a lot more people who have requested sort of a second round. So that's helped us.
isn't that town meeting day?
It is the week after town meeting.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I think Marguerite and I are in good shape for tomorrow night for the Meet the Candidates event. There is a conflict with the Northborough Southborough Regional School Committee. So we are hosting a separate event for them, the candidates specifically next Tuesday night. So instead of doing one virtual Meet the Candidates, I am now doing 2. So there will just be a separate Meet the Candidates for those, the school committee candidates that will be live next week.
Town meeting is Saturday, this 22nd of May, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
So the seed exchange will run until Friday, Saturday, May 29th, which is the week after town meeting.
Right, okay.
Okay.
And that just is.
Yeah, town meeting is the
Oh,
22nd.
sorry, I was just gonna say it's for people who want to request them online and pick them up curbside. That's how we've been doing the seed exchange. Sorry, Janet.
It's okay. No, so yeah, town meeting is the 22nd, which is the Saturday before Memorial Day.
Right,
Correct.
the holiday weekend.
Okay.
And then just to make you all,
No, it's not.
if town meeting needs to go to a second day, I believe the plan is to have it go to Sunday.
Yep.
The other big thing, I think you all received separate notifications about this once I got the notifications, but the library received a couple grants. I also put in the one we didn't get. So I know we had to reduce the programming budget by thousands of dollars, but hey, look, we got it back in grant awards. So that might not be the case in future years, but we did get 5,500 in grants. There's a lot of homework for the ALA grant that Amy Townsley and I are doing. We're attending webinars and we're taking a facilitation class through the ALA. So I'm having Amy kind of help me with that.
Ryan, just for the record, why don't you list what the grants are and the sources?
Sure. So it is in the director's report too, but it's $3,000. We were in the second cohort of the library's Transforming Communities focus on small and rural libraries. Many of you wrote support letters for that grant, including Mr. Litt, who's in the audience, who wrote a very wonderful letter. So that was specifically to purchase consumer reports and for the wireless hotspots. So I'm trying to figure out how to do wireless hotspots in the background right now. I've already talked with EBSCO. We've confirmed the purchase of consumer reports that will start in July. So it'll start on the fiscal year mark. If we want to continue consumer reports in FY23, we're gonna have to budget for it. So just to give you guys that warning, we got a grant award this year. We're gonna have to budget for it if we want to keep it the year after.
Same true of the hotspots?
Correct. Yep, that's right. I think the physical hotspot we're gonna get, and then we won't have to purchase more unless they don't come back, I guess.
Got it, okay.
Ryan, do you have a mechanism for keeping track of the use of the access to consumer reports so that if it turns out, for instance, that there isn't a whole lot of interest in it, that we'll just let it go by the by for the following year?
Yes, so we're going to, because Kim Regan and I and Amy Townsley have all kind of come up. I put myself in there, but Kim Regan and Amy really did it, was they came up with kind of a rough marketing schedule for the databases. This will be integrated. We'll feature it in July and we'll continue featuring it on social media, but then we will add the database into the metric system that Carol and I keep track of. So we'll add that and we will do a monthly total, and then that will help us once we go for the annual statistics report at the end of every year. So it's going to be integrated into all the other electronic resources, both in marketing and in statistics.
That's great. And thank you, Kim, for keeping an eye on the metrics tracking, which is very, very useful. And I'm
Yes,
really
it is.
glad you're able to take it on. I think we all are, definitely so. Okay, Ryan, other info that we need here.
Marguerite, the other thing I just wanted to say is Ryan works like crazy to get these grants, and it just puts us back basically where we should be, not anywhere ahead. And hopefully in the future, if he still has to hunt for grants, it'll put us ahead rather than back where we should have been in the first place. So it's a lot of work for him to kind of, feels like he's swimming upstream all the time, trying to get programs funded. So
And you've been helpful with that too, Amy. And I actually have been sort of politely twisting David's arm to see if he wants to be more involved in grant writing. Haven't I, David?
Yeah.
Or not so politely, David?
No, it's all been polite, I can assure you.
No.
I mean, honestly, I might pull David a little bit into the grant reporting. That's what I already did too. Sometimes writing the grant isn't even the hard part. It's when you have to report status of the grants and then sort of write almost like these mini novellas on our progress and the spending and all of that. So he provided very helpful feedback on the mid-year report for the LSTA garden grant. So thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, really.
I mean, the substance of this is certainly not mine. It's Ryan's, and I just was the editing pedant, shall we say, in terms of word choice and things like that. So hopefully the finished product was maybe 5% better than the way I found it from Ryan.
Too humble, too humble.
So the Mass Cultural Council grant, I can't give myself a lot of credit. What we did was we took the grant application that Betsy helped me with like a year and a half ago, and then we submitted the same one, just putting virtual program or all the regular program information. And then because the Mass Cultural Council they encouraged us to reapply. And then I called our grant manager and I was like, well, I don't have an application ready, but we still need funding for the same program we were doing. And she was like, well, if it's a new year and it's a new program series, just put that in the grant and we'll see if you get an award. And we did. So it's action grant. So we have to spend $2,500 in craft programming so that we can then use 2,500 more. So we're able to divest that to help some of what Kim has planned with Mandy Roberge as far as the pickup craft programs, which have been, we usually are maxed out on them and have a waiting list. So we're very grateful that the Cultural Council is helping us with that.
It's great. That's great.
Hey, before we move on from the director's report, can I just cycle back to Jane on the first issue? Who's driving the bus on all these issues? Not that there's any power struggle, but you know, you got Freddie Gillespie involved. You're involved. This is all good. Facilities, DPW, library staff. I mean, is this become a little overly democratic, or who's in charge? Who makes the calls on this?
I think Ryan and the trustees make the call.
Okay.
Do you agree, Ryan?
That's a nice way of, I think, saying the trustees make the ultimate call. So if, what I think would be helpful is if Jane kind of takes the lead on representing the board with DPW and with Freddie. And then, I can help Jane with whatever she needs. And then if it's something like the removal of the pathway, which I think is a big issue, there are things that we want to take back to you guys and get your feedback on before we move forward. But Jane is very competent on these issues. She cares about the way that the library looks. I don't think we could have moved these projects forward as quickly without Jane's help. So I would say the current system of having Jane kind of take the lead on it, if that's okay with the rest of the board, I think would be an effective strategy moving forward.
Well, that's fine. And my question certainly didn't imply that Jane was in dereliction of her duty. I just wanted to make sure that I understood anyway, that we all understand that this is our call, and we're happy to get input from all kinds of other people, including people who are outspoken and correctly so, like Freddie Gillespie. But in the last analysis, if I understand the consensus here, is that this is our call, and
Yeah.
with Jane spearheading things. Is that right?
Yeah, unless it's like remember when the tree fell in the intersection for the board members who were here? So that was a safety issue. So we didn't really have a lot of debate with DPW. The tree had to come up. I know.
The tree had to come out.
Yeah, they were upset about that, but the tree had rotted on the inside and it hit a car that was at the intersection and no one got hurt. And I'm so grateful for that, because somebody could have been really seriously injured. So the tree had to go. So it's only in cases like that where DPW, like if a tree falls at the library, we don't typically have a meeting about it. We have them remove it if it's a safety concern.
And thank you, Jane. And we're lucky to have someone with your expertise to do this for us. We appreciate it.
You're here. Yep.
My pleasure. We all care about it, but if we're all involved, it would be chaotic. So I'm happy to do it.
Great.
And I'll talk to Freddie. I promise.
Wonderful. Okay, Ryan, what else do we need from the director's report?
I think that's it.
Okay. Expense report.
Any questions? So we spent a majority of the office supply money on things that we know we're going to need going into summer reading. We only have a couple $100 left. The materials, we're a little high on the amount we have left for materials, which is not a surprise to me. That's only because there hasn't been as much multimedia to buy. There haven't been movies that have been released. So typically we spend more on like DVDs and CDs throughout the year. And we buy pretty much everything we think would circulate. And surprisingly, the movies are circulating really well. But I think it's because people are starved
Stuck at home,
for
right?
anything that comes out, right? So similar to what we did last year is I'd like to allocate some of the remaining materials purchased once we get to June to fulfill some of the overdrive holds. A lot of smaller libraries that do have materials money at the end of the year do something similar. And that allows people who have had holds on overdrive titles for a long time for us to fulfill those requests. And that, even though it's electronic books, it still counts as materials expenditures on the state reporting. So, we haven't, the first year was the last year we allocated an amount, like a significant amount towards overdrive purchasing. It would not be as high this year because we don't have that much money left. I'm gonna continue letting the staff do purchasing through early June. And then we'd look at what we have left sort of in the last couple days. The other question I have for you is, would it be okay? I've talked with our rep from Hoopla which is Midwest, it's really Midwest Tapes, and Hoopla is the product that we subscribe to. But we have the ability, so they typically send us a bill a couple days at the end of the month. What I would like to do now and engage with them on is to prepay an amount so that our June bill will be paid before we get it. That way, we're not trying to close out the fiscal year after a couple days after the fiscal year has ended. We'll already have the bill in hand. So I don't think allocating more than $1,000 is going to, I think that should be sufficient. The bills for Hoopla range from about $300 to $450 per month. So this would cover we'll pay April, but this would cover the May expenditure and the June expenditure. And then we'd be back on the regular billing cycle in July. This is probably something every May I'm going to ask you guys about.
Yes, it's the beauty of the fiscal year, right?
Yeah. And any credit that we get, like let's say people don't use Hoopla a lot in May or June, the credit will carry over to the next billing cycle, and then we'll just have like a slightly less bill in July. So I think $1,000 should cover both months because we've never gotten higher than a $450 bill for
Do you
Hoopla.
need our okay on this?
No, I need to know if you have any objections before
Right.
we do it, I guess.
Okay. Anybody have any objections? No, good. I had one question, Ryan, if I can butt in right here. It's 11:49. Does anybody have a hard stop at any particular time?
I think Amy has to go.
I'm good till 12:15. I was able to move till then.
Okay,
Okay.
because we do
Thank
have.
you for checking, Marguerite. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Okay, 12:15, that gives us not a lot of time because we still have a couple of things that we really should have the full board to discuss. One of them is the director evaluation and one of them is the handout for town meeting.
Why don't you go to the eval next, and then
Okay.
I can always, if Amy has to leave, I can always follow up with Amy.
Okay,
Because Amy has already volunteered to help on the handout. I'll say that. So she's already pre-volunteered.
Yes.
it's gonna be a handout, but no presentation, right?
I don't believe that we're gonna have the ability to offer a
Right.
presentation, but I
Okay.
check with the moderator,
All
who's
right.
funny enough, I'm gonna see tomorrow night at Meet the Candidates. So I will, I'll check in with him and see, but we weren't able to give a presentation last year. And I think the nature of it being an outdoor town meeting.
Yeah.
In talking with Mr. Hegarty, I think they're really looking for boards and committees to inform the public with physical handouts.
Yeah, I agree. There's only a certain amount of time you can spend in the sun before you just want to get out of there.
I
Okay,
will
And are we
say
able
though,
to provide those early too? Do they have to just be distributed on the day of? Can we get them out
No.
ahead of?
we can get them out ahead of time.
Okay.
good point.
And I am going to request though that we're allowed to present the Peggy Tuttle Award at town meeting, but it might just be that we can present the award versus do a presentation and present the award. So I'm going to check on that. If not, we'll come up with an alternate way to present the.
Okay, so should we plan to look at the handout at our next meeting before the town meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so can we just sort of say, thanks for doing this and we'll look forward to seeing it next time?
Well, okay, so I guess we're in the handout discussion. What I would say is if any trustees want to volunteer to help with the handout or review the handout, why don't we leave it with contact me? And then, because in the past, I think trustees we haven't done a handout for a while, but you saw a lot of older ones. In the past, trustees have kind of asked me for information. I provided the information, and then they've worked on sort of formatting a handout that they were happy with. So we can't have the entire board work on it in the background, but we need the entire board to approve it once it comes before them. So I need to know like who wants to work on the handout, or at least who wants an early draft. So what I can tell you is that Amy has already volunteered to assist on all aspects of it, including sort of the formatting. If there's information you think should be in the handout, like statistics. What I really like is to have database statistics, because Carol and I have worked so hard on it this year, and maybe some features of some of the programming statistics, since we've done so much virtual programming. And honestly, those virtual garden programs are hot, guys. We had 57 people at the tomato one. So you know, we wanna kind of highlight some of the successes. We also have the ability to run a report saying how many curbside appointments, since we went to the online system, that we've run. You guys may have seen some of that on social media. So we'd like to have some sort of curbside pickup stat on the handout as well. But so those are a couple of the ideas, but this is more what you want to the town about what the library is doing. So it really should be a lot of your ideas and what you think is important. And I can help guide that process, but I really need feedback from all of you about
Well,
what.
the other thing I wanted to suggest is when you're talking about metrics, Kim, I don't want to volunteer you for something that you may not want to do, but you usually have a pretty good handle on what persuasive metrics are. I mean, what metrics would be interesting to people and would make a case for how hard we're working. If I think your input would be really valuable on that.
Yeah, I was going to volunteer, so I'd be happy to help.
Well, that'd be
you out
great.
with that.
That'd be wonderful. Yeah, there was a pie chart, I think, in one of those that people love pie charts. I'm not saying do a pie chart, but it's sort of like what part of your tax dollar is going for what. So that'd be wonderful if you could get a hold of Ryan. Anyway, so good. So anything else about the town meeting handout?
It did sound like you volunteered, Kim Marguerite. I'm just.
Well, she could have said
I was
yes.
going to anyway, so don't worry about it.
Sorry, I just know you're really good at it. Okay. Any other comments about the handout? It sounds like it's under control. Okay, so let's go to the director evaluation. I sent around, or Ryan sent around, or one of us sent around the blank form. Who hasn't done one before? David hasn't done
I
one.
have not done one.
Janet, Amy, you've done.
For the library?
Yes, for the library director. So everybody else has
I just
done the one
observed
last
last year.
Yeah, I did one. I've done it.
Okay,
Marguerite.
so what do we have for questions about it going in right now?
Marguerite, what's the timing for this? Like, I think last time what we did was we all filled out the portion and sent them to you. Is that right?
Yes.
Were you thinking that would go the same way?
Yes, I'd like to do it the same way. If everyone could fill out to the best of their ability. There are some questions that are harder to answer because it involves experiences that maybe we all haven't had with Ryan, but to the best of your ability. And if you can't answer it, just say NA or whatever. And then for everyone to get it to me, then I will collate it into what I think is a fair document and bring it back to you and let you guys edit it. Yes.
I'm gonna be quiet because this too is for you guys to decide how you want to do the process. But the only thing I want to mention is because some people aren't aware of this, I think, every year I do a very detailed self-evaluation. And the people who have been on the board know this. You are not, it is quite the opus. It's at least 3 to 4 pages long. And I really give a lot of content because I know how difficult these are to do. And there's always a lot of things that I think I've been very successful at in a year. And there's a lot of things I think that I myself can improve on. So you will get a self-evaluation, and I'm hoping to send that to all of you by the end of this week. So just look for that either Friday or Saturday, and then have that in the background. If there are questions that are more difficult to answer, I'm also happy to sit down with any trustee and talk about them, but I'm hoping the self-eval will help.
Okay, that's good. So if this has been the procedure since I've been on the board, is that everybody does an eval, they come together, they're collated, the collated version is okayed by everybody, edited. If that works for everybody, that's what I'd like to do. And when is the due date?
Do you want it
Ryan?
electronic? Do you want these scanned in or?
Oh boy, what do you think? What's easy for everybody? I usually print out a hard copy anyway, so if you want to do that, that's fine.
I'd prefer that, please.
Yeah, so I find it easier to edit on hard copy, so if you want to do that, that's fine with me. Get it to me. The other, so whichever way you want, basically. And again,
Well, if
these
you want to print it out anyway, we might as well just, I
give
can
it
get
to
you
me.
the hard copy.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be fine. Either way is good. Whatever works for you. The other thing that I'd like to go into today, which is actually the more complicated part of the evaluation, is the goals that were set for the last evaluation, and then the setting of new goals for the next year. And if you saw what was set for goals during the previous year, I think I sent it around to everybody, the last 2 years of prior year and next year goals. COVID certainly blew the goals out of the water. It was originally, it was something like design grants from 3 to 5 local libraries, research and create additional security for the library interior and exterior, and extend programming for teens. Those were the goals for last year. Now we have to say, did Ryan meet these goals? Well, other goals sort of appeared
place, yeah.
with the COVID. So I don't know
Yeah.
quite how we want to handle this. They're sort of, these goals are kind of moot considering the pandemic. So this is a discussion I think we need to have on what do we do with our old goals. And actually, wow, he met a lot of goals, but they weren't in this performance evaluation. So
Well, we can talk about that. I mean, no mystery there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I had a question. Do we have a mission statement for the library?
Yes.
Where is it?
It's in the 5-year strategic plan.
Okay,
I will send that out to everybody.
okay. Because it's good to, in terms of setting goals, you'll look at the mission statement and see what new
Right.
things might, yeah. Thank you.
And the 5-year plan is actually helpful for establishing future goals as well, because it talks about things that the library is supposed to be accomplishing in the through 2024. So that would cover the next evaluation period.
Is it on our website, the library website?
Oh, it is?
Yes, it's in the about section. So if you
Oh, okay.
Okay, all right.
the strategic plan is one of the first things that pops up. We also have the previous 5-year plan is listed there too, including survey data from the public. And the last one had a staff survey that we did specifically. So all of that is in the appendices and it's in the full plan. So if any trustee needs me to go over that or has questions, I'm happy to help.
All right.
And as much as possible, Ryan did increase teen programming on that OneNote with grants and things like that. So exactly.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that just about every board and committee in town and every department head, if they had their goals put down for 2020, is in the same boat, which is we really didn't have time to look for design grants for local libraries, because that was supposed to be a first step in going to the state for some kind of renovation or expansion or rebuilding. That was totally off the table. And the library security was also totally off the table. So I don't know, how do we say this? Should I talk to Jim Hegarty and see what people want? Should I talk to Betsy Rosenblum and say what are most people doing here?
I mean, I would recommend, clearly last year or this past year has been an emergency situation. So I don't know if it makes sense to kind of write what the emergency goal was that we basically asked him to do last year, which was, figure out a way to still provide library services during library closure. I mean, that is pretty much what took up almost the entirety of last year. And, I don't think it's a negative that he didn't get to these traditional goals, only because it was such a strange year. I don't think anyone could fault him for focusing on design grants for local libraries when we were literally operating in an emergency situation.
Right.
So I mean, I guess my suggestion would be like, I don't know if we can just craft a, what the emergency goal was that got us through this time. And then we can also evaluate him primarily based off of that. I don't know if that's something you have to go to personnel to review, or if that's something we could just agree on. What does everyone else think?
Makes perfect sense to me, Kim. That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking as well.
Yeah. You don't have to talk about the elephant in the room when everybody knows it's there. But that gives me an idea for a goal of maybe having one ongoing goal is, respond to changes in environment or needs or whatever as they come up. Because, we could make that a retroactive goal.
It's 10% planning. I think that if everyone takes their form and fills it out, and what happened previously was everyone would put down what they would think 3 or 4 good goals for the next year were, and then in a meeting we can talk about selecting 3, because I think 3 has turned out to be the workable number. 4 is just a lot. So 3, and then maybe in our next meeting we can discuss what we would like those 3 to be. If we had, I will consult with Betsy Rosenblum on personnel and ask her what the drill is for everybody, considering that most of the goals for 2020 went out the window. And then I can report back to you at the next meeting, or I can email it to you, and we won't deliberate the
Right.
results of my meeting with Betsy to let you know as soon as, I'll talk to her today or tomorrow. And
I don't know if this is helpful, but in particular, when I'm evaluating part-time staff, time is always a factor because we set like 2 to 3 goals for part-time employees.
Mhm.
Often can't reach those goals depending on what their other responsibilities are or things that happen during the year. We were heavily disrupted with goals that we had set in the prior year to when the library flooded. Everybody's job, I think, was radically different in a similar way that it was radically different during COVID, right? So I have engaged with actually different members of the personnel board who aren't even there. And they have given me the feedback that if there is a reason why the employee is not reaching a specific goal, that is just sort of what they're interested in, is like, what was the context? And then I think they're more interested in, is that a goal that should then translate to next year? So, some of these cases, the answer may be yes, some of them may be no. But that's just, sometimes I carry goals over to the next year for part-time employees. That's not maybe relevant to me, but I just want to give you guys that guidance.
Okay, that sounds right. Due to COVID, yada, yada. Okay, so I think that I would like at our next meeting, if we had maybe suggestions for 10 or 12 different goals that we could discuss together and make our decision and edit it down. Ryan, you're smiling, or is that grimacing? No, we'll take the 10 or 12 and then whittle them down to 3 that we think would be reasonable. How's
Well,
that?
I wonder if you could send them out before the meeting so we could think about it.
What it would be, I'd ask all of you what you think the 3 best goals would be for Ryan for next year. And I'm sure everybody will have a different set. And then if you send them to me, I can collate them all and send them all out before the next meeting. How's that? Does that work?
That's great.
Okay. So that we have time to ponder it, and good. All right, so I'll expect those at some point during the next, 2 weeks, maybe? Is that good? All right.
Mhm.
I'll share with you too that I usually have a professional development goal. Like I'm currently doing the MCPPO procurement classes, and I do not have a professional development goal for next year. Every class that I want to take, or that I have had to pay for, that I need to find grants or anything, I've completed at this point. So that is something that often the personnel board has given me feedback in, is they like professional development goals. Normally I can help you with that, but I don't know what what would be the next thing for me to take. So
Pandemic management. No, you've done.
What is our meeting for next month, please?
Let's see.
the 18th, May 18th
Thank you.
is, for the record, the Tuesday before town meeting.
Mhm.
Right.
That'll be good. Then we'll be able to okay whatever's going out on the handout. We'll have made some headway with the evaluation. What is the deadline for the evaluation being into the town, Ryan? I can't remember.
I've got that.
The timeline, I think, said.
May 31st.
Yeah, so it would be, if you guys need to discuss it again after the 18th, we would have to have a follow-up meeting before the Monday, the 31st. So it'd have to be the week after town meeting, if that makes sense.
So we probably have to do that if everybody's bringing in. What about everybody filling out the evaluation completely and getting it to me before the next meeting, and then we can discuss the editing of it? Does that work?
Yes.
Can we do that? Okay, let's do that.
So is the next meeting going to be at 11 or 12?
Usually do 11, right? Because of lunchtime. What do you think? Does it make a difference to you, Janet?
Doesn't to me.
Okay.
I just-
11 is good for me.
Okay.
I also mentioned this to Marguerite, but there's nothing to preclude you all from deciding to meet in person at some point in the future. I know it's been over a year since you've done that, but if you want to try to have me arrange a meeting on the grounds or even in the building, since we're going to be doing appointments starting next week, I'm just throwing that out there. We can continue on Zoom or you guys can meet in person. The selectmen have met a couple times in person over the last year, so.
Thoughts?
I think for a topic like performance evaluation, that might be a really good time for us to reconvene in person.
Okay. My preference would be for outside.
Agreed.
I'm not good on being in a building for an hour and a half. Nothing personal, people.
I agree.
Well, do we want to meet outdoors next time? Here's my thought. My thought about outdoor meetings is that sometimes they don't, they're not as efficient as indoor meetings, just because there's a lot of distractions. I would suggest that we have our next meeting by Zoom, and if it looks like we need to have continued discussions about the personnel situation, maybe we could do it in person outside. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if you're scheduling a subsequent meeting and it has to take place in the next week, even doing it earlier in the afternoon might be difficult because of people meeting post-town meeting, right? And booking the Zoom room, so that it might be better because you can just post it as an outside one, or you can do a quick follow-up. Like you said, an hour meeting might be a long time to do outside. Maybe you're just doing a wrap-up and like a final approval thing the week after. So you can see if it's even necessary to have a secondary meeting after the 18th.
Does that work for everybody? Keep it on Zoom for next time,
Yes.
and then play it by ear after that.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Kim and I still aren't fully vaccinated by then, I don't believe so, or very close to it. So.
Yeah, I know you guys are so young.
You're all young and vibrant, all of you. Do you want to set it for 11 o'clock on the 18th? Because I want to book it now because it's
Yes.
meeting week. Okay, I'm going to do it.
What time? 11
Mhm.
or 10? 11.
11.
11. Is that okay with everybody? Any
Yep.
Yes.
known
Yeah.
conflicts? Okay.
Would either of our attendees like to comment or speak at this point? I think we have Tim and Sam Stivers.
Tuesday, May 18th. I'm sorry to interrupt. I won't be here.
That's not good.
Oh, that's not gonna work then. Let's see.
Well, if everyone else is there,
Well, not
You have it.
performance reviews. So,
I can give it to you ahead of time.
Yes,
I'll get it to you the week before.
yes.
That's still a month. That's still 3 weeks away. Yeah, I can get it to you before.
So if everybody could give me a completed performance review within the next 2 weeks, I could have it collated for the meeting on the 18th. And Jane, if we need to, we could have a second meeting outdoors together to complete discussion of the performance review. If you want to do that.
Okay.
All right, so can I just do a number here? If today's the 27th, could everybody get their performance review to me by election day, which is the 11th of May? Is that doable?
And you're gonna send this template out shortly, is that correct?
Yes, I think.
Hard copy?
But I'll
it's
do
already
it.
gone out.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is it? I see a comment from Sam that says,
Okay.
Oh, he confirmed that the selectmen voted to approve the carpet, the capital.
thank you.
Carpet.
Right.
And
And if we meet in person, we still need to notify the public that they can attend the meeting.
and the meeting has to be open to the public, I think is
Yes,
Mr.
of
Litt's
course,
point.
of course.
So
Yeah.
he just said for the minutes,
Okay.
Mr. Litt made the comment that we need to provide for the public if we're gonna meet outdoors. So as a reminder, we would still have to post the location, and then I would make seating available also for members of the public in
Yes.
addition to the board. So yeah, I am aware of that, Mr. Litt, and yes, we would do that. So you would be welcome to come visit us and say hi and be at the meeting.
Okay, so we'll do that. We'll post a meeting for the 11th, and we'll possibly have an outdoor meeting after that if we need to go further with the performance appraisal. All right. Excellent. Other business that shall properly come before us.
We have 9 appointments scheduled for next week, for anybody keeping track.
That's
So
great.
5 for the upstairs adult area, 4 for the children's room. So as I like to tell Kim Ivers, we're neck and neck, and I am currently in the lead for the. So no pressure, but if anybody wants to bring their kids in, now's the time to schedule.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so I think we're good, and we're happy about the Board of Selectmen and the carpeting. And thank you for letting us know. And okay, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, Jane, so Janet has moved and Jane has seconded. All right, Trustee Davis,
Aye.
Trustee Eckberg,
Aye.
Trustee Landry, aye, Trustee Maney,
Aye.
Trustee Reagan,
Aye.
and Trustee Estani.
Aye.
Okay, I guess the meeting is adjourned. It is 12:16. Thanks, everybody. And I'll look forward to receiving your evals. Okay,
Thank you.
take care. Thanks. Bye.
Ryan?
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, and Ryan?
Yep.
I think it was me that couldn't get in. For some reason, at the end, I was trying to get rid of Zoom from my computer and reload it. And I saw that there was an icon down the bottom, so I hit on that, and that's how I got in. I don't know why it wasn't working the way it always did
It's,
before.
you know, the transition to the new IT manager too, I think, because like Tim is still kind of taking point on the meetings while Jason gets situated. So
Mhm.
normally I send the link out to all of you and I completely forgot.
Oh, no, I got like 3 different emails about it.
Okay.
It's just that when I hit it and you hit launch meeting, nothing would happen. Finally, eventually, I was getting the home screen for Zoom, which I'd never gotten before. So somehow I managed to, it must have been already, oh, I don't know, whatever. But anyway, I hit on the icon and it worked. So
I'm gonna start all the Zoom meetings like 10 minutes early now for everybody, for
well,
me.
that's,
Because I was trying to make, you can even see early in the video, I was trying to make the meeting go live on YouTube and I did it twice and we weren't on YouTube. Like the browser didn't open up. So it is not, everybody, like Marguerite will always say like, oh, it's my fault because I'm not good with computers. I'm not good with computers and it's
Okay.
not my job. So it's happening to everybody. It's,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a mess. All
don't
right,
feel
we're
bad.
still recording.
Yeah, I know. I can cut this part out if we want people to see. All right.
All